The first piece around overfunctioning is to do less.
Okay.
Overfunctioning is overdoing it.
Overdoing it.
You're doing their emotional work. You're trying to get them to engage in the conversation.
Welcome to Love Stories, a relationship podcast for successful women, where we talk about love, dating, relationships, and how great love stories are made. Whether you're searching for the one, you're madly in love, or simply curious about romantic relationships, this podcast is for you. I'm Charlene Byars. Each week, you'll hear from women, couples, and experts, and all the ins and outs on how to create your own love story. I am so passionate about this subject, and I'm so excited to share all the things that you can apply to create a beautiful love story of your own. Cheers to great love. Welcome back to the Love Stories podcast. I'm your host, Charlene Byars. Happy new week. Yippee. Oh my goodness. The weather is officially changing here in Arizona, and I could not be any happier. I absolutely love this time of year. It is so beautiful here in Arizona. And with only a few months left of the year, I am so excited because we have opened up 2 more spots for one-on-one coaching. And I'm so excited with this because the holidays and all the changes that are happening, this is actually truly the perfect time to get you ready to find love. I teach women how to date in an empowering way so you can actually meet the man of your dreams and not waste your time. One of the things that I start with and I tell my clients is that love is a science that anyone with the formula can master. It's important to understand that we don't want to select men based on chemistry because butterflies are actually a bad sign. This is the deal. Real men fall harder as they are working to earn you, and healed feminine energy attracts healed masculine men who want to please you, who want to make you happy. My clients also learn that online dating is the fastest way to attract a quality husband. I teach them the science behind falling in love. When a woman holds eye contact and gives a man a smile, they are more likely to be approached. I also teach how sexual intimacy too soon actually decreases vasopressin in a man and sabotages his desire to commit. It's science. And the goal isn't just to find a man. The goal is to attract and marry your romantic best friend who adds value to your life long term. What I learned through the years of working with so many women is this. If you have love blocks, you can also have money blocks. So when you work through your love blocks, it also clears your money blocks. And the way that you date determines the quality of men that you attract. Investing in a love coach will save you years trying to figure this out on your own. So you don't have to keep attracting those wishy-washy men, those Build-A-Bears, the men that just play all the games. You actually learn how to date and attract high-value men. So if you're interested in learning how to date and where you can find high-value men, I would suggest that you book a complimentary call with me, and I would love to help you find the man of your dreams. So please check in the show notes and look for the link. I would love to work with you. Can't wait to talk to you. Let's talk about the tip of the week, which is love is science. Biochemically, love is science. When a man falls in love, it involves vasopressin and dopamine. And when a woman falls in love, it involves oxytocin and dopamine. When you first meet a man, you release these 2 hormones, which are norepinephrine and adrenaline. And that causes you to feel excited. You know, that drunken love when everything looks wonderful. And then what happens as he's talking to you, as he's doing things to woo you, you start to release oxytocin. When the hormone is released, it causes bonding. Oxytocin is also released when a woman has a baby. It causes you to bond to your baby. So you are actually releasing oxytocin even before you have sex with him. And when oxytocin is released, it actually decreases anxiety and increases the likelihood that you will trust this man's intention and what he says to you. This is because your frontal lobe shuts down. And what that means is that the part of your brain where critical thinking happens and where you can sense the red flag isn't fully operating. And then if you have sex with him, you're going to release a large amount of oxytocin. So here's the deal. It's important to really understand what happens when the hormones are released and realize that if you are not properly venting men, you might actually be setting yourself up in the end to get disappointed, hurt, and feeling betrayed by somebody who hasn't yet earned your affection, someone who hasn't yet proved that they are right for you. So when you are dating, take this seriously, because if you don't, then you're going to end up with the wrong man and waste years of your life. And that is something that you can absolutely avoid when you learn the science of falling in love and learn how to date. What happens is you end up finding truly the man of your dreams, and you stop wasting time on the wrong men. I am thrilled to welcome my next guest to the show today. Ashley L. Southard, PhD, licensed marriage and family therapist, is a site director and clinical therapist at a New Beginning Outpatient Treatment Center in Scottsdale, Arizona. She's also the go-to expert for helping the overfunctioning woman in love who's struggling with the confusing, exhausting, and lonely dynamics of a one-sided, unfulfilling love relationship. With over 20 years of clinical experience treating complex trauma, anxiety, depression, eating disorders, and relationship issues, coupled with her own personal journey out of overfunctioning, Dr. Ashley loves more than nothing than creating an emotionally safe space for women to discover that they are not crazy or broken, and that they have the power to become the self-restored woman they were always meant to be. Dr. Ashley also is very active on Instagram, offering life-changing information to make sense out of the nonsense. She has amassed a strong following of women who are remembering their power, learning how to come back home to themselves, and self-restoring in a community with other self-restoring women. What an incredible conversation I had with Dr. Ashley. This conversation really hit home for me. For so many years, I couldn't understand what was going on with me. I couldn't understand why I kept feeling that I might be broken and maybe just too sensitive, and all along not realizing that I was overfunctioning in a relationship with an underfunctioning partner. And that's why I always felt something was just not right. Something was off, and it shouldn't be this way. I felt like I was going crazy, or I was just too much. And it finally came to realize I wasn't crazy. And I was with a partner who was underfunctioning. And that's what was going on all these years. Wow. With no further ado, Dr. Ashley Southard. Well, hello, Dr. Ashley. Oh my goodness. How exciting. I'm so excited for today because you guys, this is going to be such a treat. I have Miss Dr. Ashley on the show today, and I know that you guys just heard a little bit of her bio, but tell us what you do.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm so excited for our chat today.
Yes.
So I am a licensed marriage and family therapist in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Yep.
And I work with clients on all kinds of mental health issues. I especially love working with women on relationship issues and specifically talking about overfunctioning in love.
Overfunctioning in love. Oh my goodness. Okay, you guys ready for this? Like seriously, overfunctioning in love. All right, so let me ask you this though. So I know that, how long have you been doing this?
I've been practicing 22 years.
Wow, that's a long time, Ashley.
It's a long time.
You have seen it all.
One would think. Although there are days where I'm like, okay, that's a new one.
You're like, that's a new one. You're like, oh my goodness. Okay, no. So let me ask you this. Before, obviously, you're doing what you're doing and how you got into this field.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about you. Like, where did you grow up? Yes, where did you grow up? You know, what was your life like when you were a little girl?
Well, I am a native of Arizona.
You are?
I am.
Okay.
There aren't very many of us.
Okay.
So I was born and raised here in Arizona, and I went through a lot of family transitions growing up.
Okay.
So my parents divorced before I was 1.
Okay.
And then I had step parents coming into my life, and some of those experiences were positive, and some of those experiences were not so positive and quite formative in terms of, what I thought a relationship could offer me. Right?
Yeah. Did you have brothers and sisters?
I have a sister.
Okay, so you have a sister. Are you younger or older?
I'm the older one.
Okay, so you're the older one. And so since you were a little girl, you never really knew your parents, being together.
Right.
Because they divorced when you were 1 year old.
Exactly.
And they had you and your sister. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yep. And so then did your father and your mother remarry?
My mom did.
Okay, so your mom remarried.
Yep.
And what was the dynamics? Like, were you primarily living with mom when you grew up, or were you kind of like going back and forth with mom and dad?
Yeah, so I was living with mom, and then she got remarried, and so I had a father figure in the home. And then later on, that relationship didn't work out, but I was always with my mom, and I would have contact with my dad and subsequent father figures.
So you were with your mama, and you were, like a little girl, and then you were with so how long was your mom married to your stepfather, and how old were you when he came into the picture?
He came into my life around age 2 or 3, and then they were together until I was about 10. Okay. So the chunk of my early childhood years, he was present in the home. And then when they divorced, I still had contact with him. Okay. But I was with my mom.
You were with your mom. And how was your relationship with your dad?
Well, it was pretty distant back then, primarily because of geography and just some of the things that he was going through in his own life, and we just didn't have a lot of contact, but we are super close today.
You are.
I'm really happy about that.
You know what? It's interesting because, like, when I interview women and we talk about, like, back in the day, right? And we're not that old, but I'm just saying, like for me too, like, I have a great relationship now with my dad. And I remember my parents divorced when I think I was 4. And so I don't remember my dad ever, like, around. Yeah. But I do, not around when we were married. Yeah. But also my dad, like, I was primarily with my mom. And it feels like my dad just, like, I don't know, like, he came, he went. Like, I can't say I had, like, a bad relationship with him, but it was not, like, consistent. Right. Until I became an adult woman. Same story, right? And so until I became an adult woman, and then we had a different type of relationship. That's a whole other day. That's a whole other story.
That's another episode.
Okay. So let me ask you this. So then you are growing up here in Arizona. Your mom gets divorced with her husband, the second husband, when you're about 10 years old. Yep. Okay. How did that, like, transition affect you? Like, did it, or was it like, what happened? What happened?
Yeah, I didn't realize back then that it affected me. I didn't even realize that into my adolescent and early adulthood years. It wasn't until I was really inside of my own love relationship where I realized that a lot of my challenges were deeply rooted in the dynamics that I had with that father figure.
With that father figure. Okay. So that's what happens a lot of times. Like, a lot of times we go about, that's the next question I'm going to ask you. We go about, on our little merry ways. Yeah. As women, it's okay. It's not our fault. We're like, okay. And we go about on our little merry ways when it comes to the matters of the heart. And, like, we get attracted to boys. We start having our boyfriends, all the different things. And there's things that start happening and we don't realize it, that it actually stems from something that could have happened in our childhood or the dynamics in our childhood. Okay.
Yeah, and we come out of childhood not realizing our childhood has affected us. Yes. Most of us will say, like, well, I had a pretty good childhood. I mean, maybe I went through some hard things, but I was very loved. I was very well taken care of. I didn't want for much. So I assumed all was well in the world, right?
Yeah, all was good, right? Yeah. Okay. So then how would you say, what age were you when you were, like, interested in the boys? Because, we have some of us that were interested pretty young, and we have some of us women were like, oh no, we didn't get interested until later. What was it like for you? What were your dynamics?
So I would consider myself a late bloomer. Okay. boys really scared me.
They did?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I can probably understand why now.
Okay.
But back then, they just scared me. They overwhelmed me. So I just kind of stayed away. I had a lot of friends who were male.
Okay.
But I was not really interested in dating.
Okay.
It felt very overwhelming and intimidating. So I put that off.
You put that
for a
off.
while.
Okay. Yeah. So when did you come up? When did you come up and start like, okay, I'm kind of interested now.
Okay.
What age were you?
Yeah. So when I got to college.
Okay.
That was when I was like, oh.
So you really didn't date in high school?
No.
Okay.
I was such a bookworm.
You were?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, you're a doctor, so
Well,
you're like,
I loved it. And I had really great friends.
Okay.
We had a very close-knit group that included boys. So I didn't really need to date. I had a wonderful friend network.
it was your environment, right? Okay,
Yeah.
so you're cool. You're
Yep.
like, you're doing your thing. You're not too worried about that. Then you get into college.
Get into college.
What
Yeah,
happened?
it's a whole new world.
Whole new world.
Yeah, out of the house. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah, and you haven't dated before.
Not really.
Right, so what was
Yeah.
that like?
Overwhelming.
Yeah.
It was overwhelming.
Girlfriend, seriously. Oh my
Yeah,
goodness. Okay, so did you start like right off of the shoot? Did you start dating and kind of casual, or did you get yourself like a boyfriend pretty early on?
Yeah, so I met my partner pretty early
You
on.
did?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about that. So you were married before.
Yep.
Okay. So how old were you when you met your ex-husband?
So I was 18
You were
when
18
we met.
years old.
Yeah.
Okay. So you really didn't have overall a lot of experience at
Didn't
the time.
have a lot of experience.
What
yeah.
was his?
And I was okay with that.
Oh yeah, you're okay with that. What
Yep.
was his experience like?
Not that much different,
Okay.
I would say.
Okay.
And so we were both kind of like newbies,
Newbies.
in some ways.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
excited to meet each other and just really, really happy.
Okay. So at first everything was awesome. You're really
yeah.
happy. It was great. Okay. Were you also in the sense someone that thought about getting married? Okay.
That was
Okay.
certainly a goal of mine.
Okay.
Yep.
So you were like, okay, I want to get married to, a nice guy, all the things.
Yeah, I had this fantasy
Okay.
of kind of doing it differently from what I had growing up,
Okay.
because I had a lot of fractures in my sense of family growing up, with different last names in the same house and different parent figures coming in and out. And so I really wanted to have that experience of like this comfy, cozy nuclear family.
Yep.
And I was going to be the cycle breaker,
You were.
right?
Yeah, you're like, it's
So
me. It's going to be
That's
me.
me. I'm going to find the guy
Yeah.
and we're going to get married and we're going to live happily ever after. And we're going to get the house and the dogs and the kids and all
The
of
whole
the
thing.
things. And we're going to ride off into the sunset.
Wow.
Yep, that's
yes,
what it was going to
yes,
be
that's
at
what
18.
Yeah, at 18, of course. I know,
Right?
right? You're like, it's going to be
It's going
fantastic,
to be
right?
fantastic, yeah.
Okay. So then what happens? You meet the guy.
Meet the guy. We do all the things.
Okay.
I go to college. I go to graduate school.
Wow.
We get married.
Okay.
We buy the house. We adopt the cats from the shelter. We have the child. I mean, we are checking the boxes.
You're like, I'm doing this. We're doing this. Okay, so you're checking boxes. Things are going along. So let me ask you this though. So during this time, because you're very young at the time, right?
Yeah.
And we already talked about there's things that you weren't aware of, from your childhood, all the
Yep.
stuff. How was the marriage overall in the beginning?
Yeah, in the beginning, it was great.
Okay.
It was very fulfilling. I was very happy with the relationship and with my choice to have this person be my life partner.
Yeah.
It felt really good and exciting, and we're going to conquer life together.
We're gonna do this. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So you guys are going along, and everything like that happens, and everything's okay. So what starts shifting?
So I would say that what started shifting was there were several things that were kind
Okay.
of happening around the same time. There was a really big role reversal that changed when I finished graduate school.
Okay.
And we moved back to Arizona. So I went to graduate school at University of Maryland, go Terps.
Yay!
And but it was too cold for me.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're an Arizona girl.
I know. I was
seriously,
like,
you're
Maryland
oh.
is freezing.
Woof. Yeah.
So anyone who's in Maryland is laughing right now
Right.
because they're like, it's not even that cold,
that
but
cold.
I was freezing. So we moved back to Arizona. And that was when I started working and he started going to graduate school.
Okay.
And just the roles were changing. We had some family things going on that were causing stress. And it just started to create a shift that I
Okay.
didn't know at the time.
Okay.
I couldn't put my finger on it at the time, but looking back, I can see that now.
So now you can look back and Now when you look back, and I know when you're in it, it's hard to see it when we're in it. But now when you're looking back, you're in this marriage, and overall things are, and I would say this is very relatable for the majority of us, right? Like you're in a marriage, and for the most part, things are, they're okay, they're fine, and nothing really bad, nothing really, it's just kind of like getting along, okay? But for you, you said that something shifted. During that time now, when you look back, could you feel it and you ignored it? Or you really didn't feel anything at the time?
Yeah, that's a great question. I can look back now and say I felt it, but I didn't know what it was. I couldn't name it. I couldn't even really define why I was feeling that way. And so I did what I think most of us do, which is I chalked it up to, well, I'm probably blowing this out of proportion, or I'm overreacting, or it's just a phase. This will pass. It'll be fine.
It'll be fine. Give us some examples of like some of the things that would happen, and then you would just kind of like go, it's okay. It's going to be fine. Yeah. What was it? Like, give me an example of something that would happen. That was a little like, something's off here.
Yeah, like trying to have conversations about some of this, what I was feeling. Maybe not being great at putting words to it, but trying to work together to figure it out, and feeling like I'm hitting a dead end. Like we're not in this together to figure out what's going on. So that would start happening more and more. And it was starting to feel unfulfilling to not be able to make progress in that communication together.
So the communication was absolutely not really there. It
was feeling like a dead end. I would try to talk and describe how it was feeling or what I was needing, and it just wasn't moving the needle in terms of feeling better.
Okay, let me ask you this. That's really good that we're on here. What happens? Where does that come from? Because I remember myself, actually, I was in a marriage prior to my marriage now. So I was married to my ex-husband, for 23 years. And trust me, we both showed up in certain ways.
Sure.
But I also remember very clearly now that I can look back now. I remember being in this marriage, and I constantly felt like I was always the one like working on the relationship.
Yeah.
Or I always felt like not only just working on the relationship, that I was like needing to have this like more deeper connection, but it felt very surface. And so I would try to be vulnerable and try to share, my wants and my needs, seriously. And I would just like get pushback, or I would get like, what are you talking about? Or like if I was crazy. And so I didn't know at the time what was going on either.
Right.
And so I thought, I honestly, I thought maybe something is wrong with me, because like, I'm trying to have these like real conversations with him, but it's just not going anywhere. Can you talk a little bit about this? Because I know this is literally what you do for a living. So let's talk about being in a relationship and these moments like I'm talking about, and how that really starts playing a part, and what can happen after this. What's happening?
Yeah, I think that is really the beginning of what I call overfunctioning.
Okay.
And
what is overfunctioning, actually?
Yeah, overfunctioning is carrying the emotional weight or load in the relationship for the both of you.
Okay.
So it's doing their emotional work for them, or trying to do their emotional work for them. Yeah.
Yes.
It's tolerating a one-sided relationship. It's picking up their emotional slack.
Okay.
Filling in the gap. Now, there are plenty of other ways we can overfunction. We can overfunction physically by doing for them what they can and should be doing for themselves. We can sexually overfunction. We can financially overfunction. But what I really like to talk about is the emotional overfunctioning, because that's the space where we start to question if we're crazy.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
So usually if that is happening, what is the dynamics?
Yeah.
Let's explain, more in detail the dynamics if we're in relationships, because I really feel like that's what was happening with me. I felt like there was not that emotional Okay, so
yeah, and I was feeling the same way as you're describing. So it's craving this deeper connection, more vulnerable, more emotionally intimate, something that is so sacred just between the two of you that you don't share with anybody else. You're craving that.
Yes, that vulnerability.
Yeah.
And when you're with a person, like when you're in a romantic relationship, seriously, one of the most important things is that safety.
Yeah.
You want to feel safe, that you can share.
You need to feel safe.
Yes, you need to feel safe, that you can share all your secrets, all the things.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you're in this relationship.
In this relationship, yearning for more depth, more connection, feeling seen, feeling understood, like just craving that. And like you, I would go and I would try to talk to them about it. Okay. Oh, yes. The overfunctioning woman has tried everything 100 times.
I know.
She's exhausted.
She's exhausted.
So I would go and I would try to talk about it. And to your point, maybe I didn't do it the best way all the time. I can totally own that. Yep. But I would go and I would try because I was keeping my finger on the pulse of the relationship. And I was aware we're not as connected as we need to be. And I can see where that could take us. So let's get on this. Let's keep connecting. And I would get pushback.
That's right.
I would get pushback. Yeah. I would get defenses. I would get excuses. I would get invalidated. I would get minimized. Or sometimes it would be received really well. And now I'm riding high on all of these gorgeous words.
Oh, that's interesting that you just said that.
And then nothing would happen.
And then nothing would happen.
Nothing would happen.
Oh, that's good you said that. Yeah, what is that? Where is that coming from? Because I remember experiencing that too. I'm in this relationship and I would say for the most part, a lot of times he would just kind of like would just brush me off, or he would just say, "Oh, you're too sensitive. Oh my goodness." Like he would just like almost if I was kind of annoying.
Yes.
But then yes. Every once in a while, you know what I mean? I would get
the breadcrumbs.
Like the breadcrumbs. Yeah. Oh my goodness. And I'm like, okay, I think we're gonna pass this.
Yeah.
But it was truly such a crazy experience for me now that I look back, because I honestly, it didn't matter what I did.
That's right.
It didn't matter. Do you know that we actually went and met with a marriage
therapist,
a marriage therapist. And she had us in and out, and I mean, I feel like it was like 10 years. She had us in and out, and I know it's not her fault, but like it does matter who you go to. I'm just telling you guys right now, because I felt like we just never got anywhere.
Yeah.
I just felt like we went there and it was like talking about the same thing, just in a different way. And when you said you can't put your finger on it, I want you to talk about, so if people are in a relationship, talk about the things that show up, you know? So if someone's listening to us right now, and you guys can listen, and Dr. Ashley and I are all about, really helping people have amazing relationships with themselves and the people they love.
Absolutely.
So we're all about great relationships. We're all about working, working the relationship if the relationship can work. I'm a big believer in marriage. And I'm a big believer in all that. But sometimes, you guys, things don't work, and that's okay, because you can't change a person.
Right.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about, when women are in these type of relationships, how it's like the silence. It's not so obvious.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, well, I would say one of the things is this defensive-ness or this pushback, this unwillingness to put effort into the relationship, right? And really, if you have a concern or you have an unmet need or you want to talk about something, you deserve to have your partner say, okay, if it's important to you, then it's important to me.
Oh, did you guys just hear that? That is huge. Huge. Can you just say that one more time?
Yeah.
Okay.
If it's important to you, then it's important to me. And instead, what the overfunctioning woman often gets from her emotionally underfunctioning partner is, why do you need that? What's wrong with you that you have that need? And the overfunctioning woman, in my experience, tends to be extraordinarily empathic.
Yes.
Huge-hearted, sees the good in everyone to a fault, holds on to hope, really wants this relationship to work, will do anything to get this relationship to work. And so she gets this pushback and doesn't recognize that that is not okay, because what she does instead is she goes, okay, I guess you're right. I'll go self-reflect. I'll go figure out why I need this and what's wrong with me that I need this.
Yes.
And part of that is because the underfunctioning partner is so convincing and so convicted in their defensiveness, right? They don't question themselves. They just push
It was like
back.
confidence. I remember you're spot on, seriously, because it was like almost just like the way that he did it, you know, I mean, it was like so confident. It literally made you feel like, okay, yeah, it's you.
Right.
Yeah, Charlene, it's you. You crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I
yeah.
really started, I'm not even kidding you.
No,
I actually thought, you're
I
like, no,
know.
Charlene, I know.
Yeah.
I actually thought I was,
And that's,
I was damaged.
yes, and that is eventually where the overfunctioning woman goes. You get pushed back enough times, and you get told enough times that something's wrong with you, that you need this, and they're fine. The relationship is fine. Why, what's wrong with you that you need more? That eventually you go, yeah, you're right. I must be crazy.
I must be crazy. No.
And you know what I say?
Wow. No,
You're not crazy. You're in crazy. You're not crazy. You're in crazy, which is why you feel crazy.
Wow. That was powerful.
Yeah.
I really want everyone to hear that. I want them to hear this because, you know, our romantic relationships, I mean, man, they just bring up so much.
Yeah.
And to be in a romantic relationship, it is so important that we are in actually healthy relationships.
Yes.
Because if we're not in healthy relationship, you guys, it will literally, what will happen, Ashley?
You will feel crazy.
Yeah.
You will lose yourself.
Yeah.
You will become a shell of a human who doesn't know up from down, doesn't know what she wants, can't find joy in the true joys that are in your life. And you're surviving. You're just getting through your days, and you're crying yourself to sleep, and you're fighting off resentment and guilt and loneliness. That's what happens.
So what is happening then, you know, usually if a woman is in this situation, you know, with the man. So she's just, let's talk about him.
Yeah.
Why he's, you know, not expressing himself. What do you usually see, you know, when it comes to this dynamic?
Okay, well, we're gonna need a couple of hours for that one, but let me give you the short version.
I want our listeners to start identifying things and start kind of like, you know, I know right now they're like, huh, what's going on? What's going on? Okay, this sounds familiar to me.
So typically what's happening with a partner who is emotionally underfunctioning is they probably have some early life experiences, as does the overfunctioning woman, so we can get to that too.
Okay.
But her underfunctioning partner probably has some early life experiences that taught them emotions are bad.
Yeah.
Stay away.
Okay.
They're overwhelming. They're bad. They just create problems. So just stay away from them and live in your head.
Okay.
So a lot of underfunctioning partners preference logic over feelings.
That's wow.
Right?
Yeah.
And so when you come to them and you say, hey, I'm feeling all of this, they're like, no, please get away.
Yeah, we don't do feelings.
We don't do feelings.
We don't do feelings.
And I can't admit to you that I can't do feelings, so I'm going to punt this back to you and make you feel bad for having those feelings.
Because they suppress their feelings.
That's right.
Okay.
And under all of that, we don't have the time to get into the psychology of it, but at the core of all of that is shame.
Is shame.
That they have that's not been healed. They probably don't even realize they have it. And so they are, you know, avoiding and deflecting and defending, but they don't even realize that that's what they're doing.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because I think that's really good you're saying that, because you'll be like, so you'll have the relationship and then you said like let's say for an example, you have a woman that's over functioning and then her husband is under functioning, right? Usually they truly don't believe that there's something there.
Yeah, or that they're doing anything wrong.
Right, because that's not something that they usually have, you know, done in the past. Like, they're not ones to really talk about feelings or stuff like that. So they're thinking, why are we doing feelings right now?
Well, yeah, feelings are annoying.
Annoying.
Feelings are unnecessary. They're just getting in the way of things. They're getting in the way of logic. So let's not do that, which is why you're left feeling like you're annoying.
Like you're annoying.
Right?
Yeah. Because you're like, why?
Yeah.
Why isn't he like listening to my feelings?
Yeah.
And they're like, no, I'm not sure what you're talking about with those feelings.
That's right. And so then the overfunctioning woman says,
What does
okay,
she do?
I will pick up the slack.
Yeah.
So what I will do then is I will go back to the drawing board after I pull myself out of believing I'm crazy, and I will find a new way to come back to my underfunctioning partner, and I'm going to say it differently. And this time, they're going to get it.
They're going to get it.
I'm going to use new words. I'm going to use new concepts. I'm going to bring them a new article. I'm going to send them a new podcast.
That was me.
Oh, me too.
Oh, me too.
Yep. I'm going to do it differently.
Maybe I didn't send him the right one.
That's right.
No, I'm actually serious. I really, maybe, you know what? I'm gonna send him this one. I think this one's really gonna get to him.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's gonna have the aha moment with this one.
100. No.
Yeah.
That's
right.
not, that didn't happen.
But that's overfunctioning. The partner isn't doing their work to cultivate their own emotional intelligence and emotional maturity. So the overfunctioning woman says, let me try to do it for you. Let me put the material in front of you and get you to become emotionally intelligent and mature. But the problem is, if your underfunctioning partner doesn't see that they are lacking in emotional intelligence and doesn't feel motivated to increase that for themselves, it doesn't matter what podcast, article, or conversation you put in front of them. It doesn't matter if you cry. It doesn't matter if you scream. It doesn't matter if you write it in a letter. It doesn't matter if you go silent. It doesn't matter. And every overfunctioning woman knows exactly what I'm talking about because she has tried all the ways.
Everything.
And that's part of what leaves you feeling crazy.
Yes. Yeah. Because you actually have tried all the ways. I used to say, that's what I used to say. I used to say, I don't think there's a stone that I have not
turned over.
Like literally, I've jumped. Yep. I've been very patient. I've done it all. I took them to, not took them, but I'm like, okay, let's go get help. Yeah. All the things. And we didn't have, like I said, no fault to the person that we saw. Right. But we didn't have also someone that can really, we didn't have someone like you, Dr. Ashley, that can really pinpoint it and say, okay, this is what's going on. Yeah. So if you are a woman, and I know that you and I, our past, we were in type of relationships like that. And we, we went over to the other side. Okay? Because how long were you with your ex-husband?
18 years.
18 years. So obviously eventually you left him, right?
Yeah.
Was he, when you decided to leave that marriage, was he in shock, or was that like something that he knew was coming?
That's a great question. Most of the time my clients have the experience that their partner is blindsided. Okay. We had been at this for so long that I think there was shock that it's happening now. Okay. But there wasn't shock in the big picture. Yeah. I had been saying for years how I needed things to change.
You need things to, did you guys ever go talk to a professional too?
Oh, we did it all.
You did
we did the retreats and the workshops and the...
We did too.
We did it all.
I knew. We went to, I remember, I even took them to Men Are From Mars.
Oh, yeah. Women Are From Venus.
We went to his actual, John Gray's, seminar or something like that. And I'm like, okay, this is it.
We did it all.
This is it. He just needs to be in a cave for a couple days.
and he'll have the awakening.
And he'll have this awakening, and we're gonna be friends. And for me, it was, again, I know everyone has their experiences. It was the hardest thing thinking about, because I left a man that I was truly in love with. Like I was completely in love with my ex-husband. I was very attracted to him. I used to try to focus also on the good things. But I also left, like I said, my ex-husband knowing that I truly, from the bottom of my heart, you guys, I was like this. I'd rather be alone with a fish on an island, by myself, than have to deal with this confusion, this why can't we get this right? Because I was peace. There was no peace, and I'm like, we love each other, but we couldn't. It just,
love is not enough.
It's not. Girlfriend, it's not enough.
It's not enough. And I think with this overfunctioning, underfunctioning dynamic, what starts to happen for a lot of overfunctioning women is they lose respect for their partner.
Yes, that's what happens.
Right. So the love might be there, and the history is there, and the dream of the future is there, and the family unit is there, but the respect isn't there. The connection isn't there. The willingness to put effort into this relationship consistently isn't there.
No, it wasn't. And it was just almost kind of like, we're good. We're married. We have 4 kids. I mean, because that was something too that I always dreamed of.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I grew up from, a broken family, like my parents weren't. So I knew I was the same way. I was like, you know what? I'm going to break this chain. I'm going to make sure that, the husband and the wife stay together. And because I knew that would honestly, overall, if it's a healthy relationship, that is best for the children, 100%. But I also knew, because I have 3 boys and 1 girl. And I knew it was something about like this internal feeling. I was like, I don't want my daughter to not see me completely in the most healthiest romantic relationship that she can ever be in, because all the relationships that I saw prior to when I got married were very toxic. We're not healthy. We're like all over the map. And so I was thinking, oh my gosh, I'm doing exactly what I saw when I was, a child.
Right.
So I knew I wanted things to be different, Ashley. I really did. But that took so much work.
It does. I had the same experience. I remember having this thought of, if my daughter was in a relationship with this dynamic that we have right now, would I be happy for her? Right. And no, I would be so sad for her. And I thought, then what the hell am I doing?
Right. What am I doing?
What am I doing? And I had to get real courageous inside of myself and make some hard decisions that were right for me. I'm not saying they're right for everybody, but they were right for me, but they felt so wrong in the moment. They violated everything that I had hoped for and worked for. Right? But ultimately, that's what I needed for peace in my life, and what I needed to know that I was showing my daughter that if it is not working for you, you have the power to change that in your life, and hopefully then be able to show a very healthy option.
A very healthy option, right? No, absolutely. So for the listeners right now, and they're listening to this, and they are in, so I want to talk 2 parts. Here. So I want to talk if you're a single woman and you're like, oh, hell no, I don't want to get that. Like, okay, ladies, you know what I mean? I want to talk about like things that they can do to avoid this. Yes. And if you are married and you're in a relationship right now, what are the things that you should pay attention to? Well, what are the signs, or what is something a woman can do?
Okay. Well, let's start with the women who are in the relationship.
Okay, let's start with her.
And there are a lot of things that we can do. Okay. And this does not guarantee a certain outcome. Okay. Because your partner is half of the equation. So you can do your part. That does not mean that they're going to do their part. But the more you do your part to create a healthy dynamic within yourself, then the better you are able to assess what they're offering and then make self-respecting decisions. I know for me personally, if you had talked to me years prior, and you would say divorce, I'd be like, no way. Right. I literally cannot handle that.
Yeah, right. But that's not even in the cards.
It's not even in the cards. Yeah. But later on, as I continued to do my own work separate from my partner and developed my own self-respect inside of me, not suddenly, but over time, that option became more palatable for me. Yes. Right? And again, I'm not saying that is the option, but it is one option.
It's one. Yeah.
If you continue to be in a one-sided relationship and it's not working for you. But if you're in a relationship and you want to do your part, regardless of your partner, the first piece around overfunctioning is to do less. Okay. Overfunctioning is overdoing it.
Overdoing.
You're doing their emotional work. You're trying to get them to engage in the conversations. Correct. You're also trying to regulate their emotions. How many times?
What is that about?
Right?
Like, seriously, us women, we are so good at this, aren't we?
It's the walking on eggshells. It's the not speaking up because you don't want to upset the apple cart.
You don't want to upset him. Maybe you shouldn't say that. Just let it go. It's not a big deal. You're being too sensitive, Charlene.
That's right. And next thing you know, you've let it go for 20 years.
Yeah.
So that's also overfunctioning, is making sure that you're not upsetting them, which then means they don't have to work on making sure they're not getting upset all of the time because you're doing it for them. So that's what I mean by doing their emotional work for them.
Do you remember? I remember one time my older son said to me, I have different ages. I remember making a comment. He says, "You apologize a lot." I was like, what do you mean? Yeah. It's always like, "Oh, sorry."
Yeah,
sorry.
exactly.
He had no idea.
That's one way women play small. We apologize all the time.
What is that about?
We just don't believe we deserve to take up space.
Woof.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when my son said that to me, I'm like, it really stopped me in my tracks. I'm like, what does he mean by that?
So you were doing that subconsciously. That was part of your autopilot. He pointed it out to you. Now it's in your conscious awareness where now you have the power to assess it and decide if you want to keep doing that.
Yes.
And you decided you didn't want to keep doing that.
I didn't want to do that anymore. And it was very, like, you made a comment. So she, Dr. Ashley made a comment before we started, and she said what you said usually with your clients. Once they
see it, they can't unsee it.
Yes. And after that, I was like, oh, okay.
Right.
I still wasn't, you know what I mean? But I remember that was a moment. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you're in a relationship.
So if you're in a relationship, you want to become very aware of where are you trying to regulate their emotions?
Okay.
Where are you doing all of the work to keep the finger on the pulse of the relationship? Where are you carrying the emotional and psychological load for this relationship? Also, where are you doing things for them that they can and should be doing for themselves? Are you getting the birthday card for their coworker?
Yep.
Let them do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
So there's a lot of ways in which we make things really easy and really comfy cozy for our partner, and then they don't have to figure that out for themselves. And then we look at them and go, why aren't you figuring it out for yourself? Well, because they don't have to.
They don't have to. And we put them, they're almost on autopilot because they know we're going to do it anyway.
That's right. So our work is to stop doing it.
Okay. Ooh.
Yeah.
Ladies, okay.
Now I'll tell you, as soon as you decide that you're going to do less, you're going to feel guilty.
Okay.
And you're going to feel selfish.
Okay.
Those are the first two emotions that will bubble up. And that's old childhood programming that you want to unpack. But I want you to tolerate those feelings and do it anyway. Step back anyway.
Step back anyway. You guys listening? Step back anyway.
And just know you're going to feel guilt. You're going to feel selfish, quote unquote, because you're doing something different. You're going against this old programming that says, I have to totally sacrifice and abandon myself for their happiness. No, you don't.
You don't.
But when you don't sacrifice and abandon yourself for a little while, it's going to feel uncomfortable. Right. So just know that that's normal. Just let the guilt and selfishness be there.
Right.
You don't have to let it drive the car.
Because it's not selfish.
It's not selfish, but it feels selfish.
It does. I love that you're saying this because that's just our what is it? Our default, right?
Yeah.
Like women
it's
are
our
like,
subconscious programming.
Okay. That's just a subconscious programming. Okay, ladies. So step back. Okay.
Yeah.
Just
just do a little bit less for them.
Do a little evaluation here.
Yeah. If they come home and they're really grumpy, you don't need to fuss over them. You don't need to ask them 20 times what's wrong.
Oh, I love that. I love it.
You don't need to go run into the living room and get their show on, or you don't need to do all that. Let them sit in their grumpiness and figure it out.
Let them be grumpy.
Yeah, and also give them the space to figure it out for themselves. That's actually a very respectful thing to do, because when we fuss over them and overfunction, what we're really saying is, I don't think you can handle this. Now, maybe they can't.
Yeah, maybe they can.
But we'll let them figure that out. But maybe they can, or maybe they want to, and we've got to give them the space.
Ashley, that was me.
Yeah.
That was me too.
Me too.
I was always like, you okay?
Right.
Do you need anything?
Yeah, exactly.
What's going on? Did you not sleep last night?
Yeah.
Are you having a bad day? Did you, is something wrong? I would just say all the things. I'd be like, you know what? You know what I've noticed? Do you need to have a little alone time?
Right.
Do you got to get out with your friends?
Yeah.
Do you he would what?
So
I didn't say it like that, but
right.
I'm just really trying to emphasize how I was constantly you okay?
Yeah.
It's okay. Okay.
And what happens is,
you know what? Why don't you take some time alone? I'll take care of that. Don't worry about that.
That's right. You were
Because he was so
orbiting
moody.
around
Mama,
him.
he was so moody.
So moody.
I was like grumpalupicus. But then there were times that it was fun. We had so much fun too.
Yeah,
That's why it was confusing.
Yes. Yeah, it's not all bad. If it were all bad, this would be an easy decision.
Yeah, no, it wasn't all bad. No. So we would have a lot of fun too. Then
Mm-hmm.
I'd be like, and then I got to the point that I even had names. I'd be like, I'm vacation girl now. Okay, I got different people. Okay.
You had different coping strategies for different versions of him.
I did.
Yeah.
I know. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, but you were orbiting around him.
I was.
You were going through the checklist of emotion regulation.
Okay.
So he doesn't have to. Right?
Yeah.
So when you, and most overfunctioning women, we're so empathic, we can just feel their emotions oozing out of them.
I feel it. I did.
As if it's our own.
Yes.
Right?
What is that? I was like, I could feel it. I could feel it even when you're walking in. I already know. I already feeling it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you're asking all the questions, trying to get it out of them because
Totally.
you know what the answer is.
Yes.
They don't know what the answer is,
Oh
right?
my
But we
goodness.
know what the answer is. That's not our work to do. That is their work to do.
Okay.
So what I encourage women, especially when you're new to the stepping back
Okay.
process, is literally leave the room if you need to. If their
Love that.
emotional energy is dysregulating you and you're getting anxious and feel like you need to start overfunctioning.
Because when they're in that environment, when you're in that environment with a guy like that, like literally, you either want to you want to just grab him and shake him and say, "Why are you being so cranky?" Like literally, no, life is you don't have life is not guaranteed to anybody. Like you got to be happy. I was just like, why?
And the
you
more
so
you do
cranky?
that, the more they shut down.
Oh,
the more they
100%.
push you away.
Then now I'm crazy again. Oh, I'm
You're
trying
the
to.
nag.
You're a nag. Why are you always trying to change me, Charlene?
Mm-hmm. Right. Exactly.
And I wasn't trying to change him.
You weren't.
But maybe I was. What was I doing?
And you're focusing on him.
Yeah.
And so that's your opportunity to refocus on yourself. So in those
Look at me.
moments.
I'm so look at me, I'm so fidgety right now. Actually, because I'm like, this is like bringing me back.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm so happy we're having this conversation.
Yeah.
Okay.
You remember what this feels like. I do too.
Girlfriend. We were there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For a very long time.
For a very long time.
Our cells remember what this feels like. And we shall never forget, so that we can help the women who are just one step behind, who are seeing this now for maybe the first time and going, oh my gosh, there's words for what I'm going through. I'm not crazy. I always say to women, you're not crazy, you're in crazy, right?
That's why I want to have these conversations.
Yeah.
I really do. I want to have these conversations. That's why I have, guests like you. Because these conversations really need to happen.
They do. This is how we realize that it's a thing.
It's a thing.
Because I grew up with this. So it was just the air that I was breathing.
Yes.
I didn't realize, like the apologizing example.
Yes, and we make so
You just
many
did it.
excuses for men's behavior.
Yeah.
We really do.
Yeah. And so these conversations that we're having, that you're having with your other guests, are helping women come out of this autopilot way of being in a relationship and going, oh, that's what's happening here. And now with this awareness, we get to decide if that's what we want. That's our power.
Right, that's our power.
Right? We get to decide if we want to keep overfunctioning. And we can decide to keep doing it.
Yeah.
And we can decide not to.
Not to do that. Well, that's what I love how you started out. Like, so if you were listening today, you were talking about one of the first step is an awareness.
Yep, an awareness and then stepping back.
And stepping back.
Yep.
And that what that looks like again is don't feel like you need to take care of their moodiness or whatever it is. Can you give me another couple of other examples of what stepping back looks like? So for the ladies who are like, okay, what else do I got to do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Another example of stepping back would be in these conversations. So we go to them, we say, I'm feeling in this way. And they say, what's the matter with you that you're feeling this way? Or why do you need that?
Okay.
They do all of their confusing defense mechanisms. One form of overfunctioning is, okay, let me go in and explain myself again. Let me over-explain.
I'm the most I was the most over-explainer, and I pride myself because I'm like, I'm really going to be honest. I'm going to tell them exactly what's going on with me and how I feel and how this is affecting me, and it hurts all my little heart. And then it was like, okay, keep going.
So then we keep going.
Yeah,
right. So we try again, and
and then I start crying.
Yeah.
And then oh my goodness. And then I start yelling.
And then we start yelling.
Okay.
And then
I'm crazy.
We
woman
look
again.
crazy.
Yeah, that was me.
And then they look at us and go, you're crazy. Look at you.
Yes. No, he did.
I know.
And then sometimes he would get a camera.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, because I came.
Because
I'd be like, I came into this very calm.
I didn't start this way. I didn't start this way. I started calm. I started with vulnerability. I started with honesty. I started with love. But when I keep hitting a brick wall, when I keep getting no response, research has shown in our attachment system that's hardwired into our brain, this research has shown that when we go to connect, when we reach for our partner and we hit a brick wall emotionally, maybe physically too, maybe they just stare at us with no emotion.
No, I got that too.
Right? But emotionally, when we hit that brick wall, it sends our attachment system into panic. Okay. And then we up the ante because we're trying to get their attention. So if talking calmly isn't getting their attention, well, let me raise the volume.
Let me start screaming.
If tears don't get your attention, let me scream. So eventually, and they just keep kind of not responding. No. So we keep upping the ante until we literally look and feel crazy.
Yeah.
And that's the moment they react.
Yes.
And they go, see? Look at you. You are crazy.
And then it was like this. And I'm not going to talk to you like this.
I'm not going to talk to you like this
until you calm down. And I'm like, whoa, what just happened?
So then we walk away from that and we go,
and then I
oh my
felt
God, I am
Charlene.
crazy.
Yeah.
He's right. I am crazy. I need to stay regulated. And then we beat ourselves up and we go away for a couple of days and we torture ourselves with guilt and blame and shame. And then we take a deep breath and we say, okay, I'm going to try it again. But this time I'm not going to get dysregulated. This time I'm going to really just tell him how I feel, and this time it's going to work. And we start again and we tell him how we feel.
And then I'm on the hamster wheel.
And you're on the hamster wheel.
And then it's all over again. And then it's like, and then it was literally, here we go, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Oh, little breadcrumbs. Oh, we did see it. Yeah. Oh, there we go.
And the overfunctioning in this cycle is you're doing all the work to communicate.
Yep.
You're doing all the work to manage feeling crazy.
Oh, yeah.
You're doing all the work to find a new way.
He wasn't doing anything.
And they're over here passed out asleep.
Yeah.
Snoring.
No, like it wasn't even an issue.
Right.
It wasn't even an issue. Okay, so if you're in a relationship, so it is, what was the second one that you said?
Awareness and stepping back.
Awareness and stepping back.
And then from that place, you observe, what do they do when you are not doing all of the work for them? Mm-hmm. How do they choose to manage their emotions or not manage them? How do they choose to initiate conversations about the relationship or not initiate conversations? Mm-hmm. What do they do when left to their own devices? That is data for you. Mm-hmm. And then you get to decide, does that work for you?
That's good.
But you can't see that if you're so busy trying to do it for them.
Right. Because you're not going to be able to change a person, right? You're not going to be able to do it for them. They're going to actually have to want to do things differently.
And that's the really...
They have to want to.
Yeah, and that's the pain point.
That's it.
Is if I stop and I leave them to their own devices, do I really want to see what they do?
I'm already shaking again. I'm like, see, I know, because that's what I did.
I didn't want to see it.
Oh, I didn't want to see it either.
But there came a point where I could not feel crazy anymore. I was willing to see it.
What happened with you? Was it just as time went by? Was it just that, I'll talk about me, but was it just a moment? Did something just happen, or was it just an awakening that you're like, I think I'm done. I can't.
There was a multi-year awakening. Okay. Many conversations, many moments for me. And then there was a boundary violation, and that was it.
And that was it?
Made it black and white.
You're like, I'm out.
I'm out.
And then that's how you did it. Mm-hmm. That's kind of like for me too. Like I felt like I constantly and then I honestly, can I tell you something? I became numb.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Is that normal? Okay. Because I was like,
sure.
I didn't have any, like, I'm just like,
I actually call it apathetic. Okay. You just get to a point where you have nothing.
Yes.
Numb is I have a lot, but I'm not feeling it.
Okay.
And that could be true as well.
Okay.
I think we probably go through numbness earlier in the process while we're still trying, right? We stay numb to tolerate it. Mm-hmm. But we get to a point of apathy where it's like, I just don't even care anymore. I don't have anything left in me to work on this, to fight, to have one more conversation. I just don't care. And ironically enough, this is when a lot of partners, underfunctioning partners, get activated and they go, wait, what? Oh, okay, I'll change. I'll do all the things you asked.
That happened to me. Yes.
And now you feel crazy because you're like, oh, I was so ready to leave.
He's going to do it now.
And should I believe him?
What do you say about that?
Well, it depends, right?
Okay.
So there's usually many iterations of this.
Okay.
You've heard it all before, but this time they swear they're going to change.
It's different, yeah.
What I say, the typical psychological pattern here is they do want to change, they do intend to change. In that moment of the conversation, they see that you're out and they're losing you and they're panicked and they do genuinely not want to lose you. Okay. But as soon as the crisis is over and you go, okay, fine, I'll give you another chance. I'll give this more time. Now they go back to their old ways.
They go back to their ways because they keep just doing the same type of pattern.
Same subconscious programming, unless they dig into some serious therapeutic work.
Okay, so let's talk about that. So do you see also too, so ladies, there's always hope here too. So we have options. So, what I love about this conversation is if you are in this situation right now, one of the first things that, that literally doctor actually said to do is have an awareness and back off.
Yep.
So just do that.
Yep.
Just start there.
And that's a lot.
That's huge.
So if you put all of your energy into that, that's huge.
That's huge. So just go there. Mm-hmm. As time goes by, and we just want to say this, there are times, believe this or not, like really, there are times that you can be in a relationship and they can have this dynamic, but there can be that person, once they have a different awareness and they realize you're out, they can your partner can do the work if they decide to.
If they decide to.
If they decide to.
Yes.
So that's what it comes down to. That's why you said letting go sometimes is the hardest thing, because you're going to realize, are they going to really want to do the work? Yeah. Because you can't make anybody want to do it.
They have to want to.
They have to want to.
And it is not easy work.
No, it's
not. So for someone who's scared to death of emotions, guess what they need to be doing? Yeah. They need to be feeling all the feelings.
Yes.
So it is how do I say this? Usually, the way that this goes is they won't end up doing the work in time. So I don't want to give false hope.
No, it's
Most
not false
of
hope.
the time, the overfunctioning woman in this relationship will realize, okay, time is up. I literally cannot give any more of my time.
Because that's the deal, because this is not something that's just been happening for a short amount of time.
Decades.
This has pretty much been happening for decades. Or the whole relationship. They just realized it later. It really started like showing itself more and more as time went by. Right. But it could have been happening from the beginning.
Yeah, it usually doesn't start this way, or we wouldn't settle down with these people. It usually, it's a slow progression.
So let's talk about if you are a single woman, Miss Ashley, and you are like, listening to this right now, and you're like, okay, well, how do I find myself a good man? You know what I mean? Like, well, goodness gracious, because I don't want to end up with that. And let me just say this too, and this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. Truly, I want to say this. The majority of the men and the majority of the women out here are good people.
There are really good partners out there.
Partners out here. Yeah. Don't give up hope here. That's why we're doing this, because they're really great partners.
Really, and it does start with truly believing that. Because you can't see what's out there if you're not willing to see it.
Right.
So you have to be willing to see that there are really great humans walking around on this planet who have the potential to be a great partner for you. A great partner. So you have to be willing to see that, and they are out there.
Now, and in your journey, so I know that you guys were you get divorced, all that dynamic, and I know you have a daughter. Yep. So you had to deal with all.
Got her through all that. Yeah.
That we need to come back for the podcast.
Yeah, that's another episode.
Actually, for being a single mom after leaving a relationship like that, because that's. I feel like, honestly, I know this is a cliff right now. I feel like that's my story. Yes. Afterwards.
Mm-hmm. And that is probably based on my experience.
In it right now.
Me too.
And it's been hard.
And it is probably the single biggest barrier for most women who have the clarity. Okay. They've stepped back. Yep. They don't like what they're seeing, but they're not ready to leave because of the kids. Yeah. And that's so understandable.
That's so understandable. Mm-hmm. Because they're like, well, if I can, how am I going to navigate this when we are not in the same house?
Or what about my kids if I'm not there to buffer them from their other parents under functioning?
That's so true.
So there's a lot to talk about there. We need to come back and do that.
We have to do that one. Okay. So what about the single ladies? Yeah. Like where do we go from here? So the ones that are listening to this and like, I want to end up with a really healthy man that's going to communicate all the things.
Okay. All right. So the first thing is you want to watch your own behavior and not overfunction, because when you start overfunctioning, it does set the stage for the potential of underfunctioning to develop.
Oh, I like that you're going
there.
It
is a dynamic.
Okay.
So it's not just that they are an underfunctioning person. It's that this is a dynamic. So be very careful that you're not overdoing it. Okay. So a couple of things to watch for. Number one is reciprocity. Okay. All right. Overfunctioning and underfunctioning is a one-sided dynamic. So the healthy alternative to that is reciprocity. It needs to be a two-way street. So if you are doing for them, do you feel like they are also doing for you in ways that are meaningful to you? Yes. And that's important, because a lot of times partners will say, but I do all these things. Right. It's like, well, that's great, but that's not what I'm wanting. But that's not what fills my bucket.
Not for me. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's kind of like more also too, that makes a lot of sense. Like when we talk about like the love languages.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Like, so someone feels really loved, like I'm acts of service. So please, help me out. And but other person can say, you know what, I really, really like, there's something about when you acknowledge me. That just makes me feel very warm and fuzzy. And I feel very warm and fuzzy when, people help me out with certain things and have those gestures for me. So something like that.
Exactly.
Okay.
So reciprocity.
Okay,
so
reciprocity.
You're giving and they're giving.
And they're both helping each other out in that respect. Okay.
And part of that is the overfunctioning woman has to learn how to be a good receiver. So we're really good.
Ladies,
Yep.
you're hearing that.
We're really good at giving to them.
Okay,
We're really good at letting them be the center of attention. And if we do that for too long, they will let us.
They will.
Okay. So we have to be better at receiving and letting them make us the center of their attention sometimes.
Yeah.
All right. Not all the time, but sometimes.
I
So
love that.
if we want to be good givers, that's great. But then we have to pair that with being good receivers.
Oh, I love that.
Letting them take care of us sometimes.
Yes.
Letting them do for us sometimes.
Yes.
And that's how we keep that reciprocity and balance.
Yes.
Okay.
And you see how she said it from the beginning. Because
From the beginning.
It's from the beginning, however we're showing up. And one of the things I talk about a lot too is really, like, if you're a single woman, allow the process of courtship.
Yeah.
Allow it. Allow the man to pursue you. Allow that for him to, be able to do things for you, and you just enjoy
Receive
the
it.
process.
Yeah.
Just receive, enjoy the process. You don't have to. Let me tell you something about men, ladies. Let me say something. A man that is into you, like, is really, like, is intrigued by you and wants to get to know you, he actually wants to do things for you.
That's right.
It lights him up. You don't so if the man's, I hope we don't think this way, but I'm just going to give you an example. So if the man is literally it's like this pride, he loves to make you happy. So if he's opening your door, you don't need to go open his door. No, it's okay. You know what I mean? Like, let a man.
Or tell him, no, I got it.
I got it. Or no. Just enjoy the process. And all you need to do is say, thank you. Okay.
Yeah, they just want to see that they're making you happy.
It's awesome.
Receive it.
They do. They really want to see you making happy. And I love that you're saying this, because I think us women, because we're not aware of this, we're not aware of ourselves in that way.
Right.
We try to overstep that. We try to okay, well, and that's another thing. Like, ladies, because I am talking from experience. I am talking from me. Like, listen, if a man is really wants to give you a kind little gift and stuff, you don't have to give him a gift back. Like, literally, it's okay. Just accept it, receive it. Thank you.
And be you, because the
100%.
reciprocity is in you being you and being
100%.
loving and kind in your ways.
Yes.
Yeah.
And one of the things too, I always say, like, if you had a really nice date with the guy, one of the coolest things that all you need to do is say, thank you so much. I had such a great time.
Yeah.
Right there, that I had such a great time. He's be like,
That's the gift.
Yes, that's the gift. She had a good time, because that's all he's thinking about. He's thinking, I hope she has a good time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah, and so often the overfunctioning woman is living in guilt.
yes, what is that?
So
Why?
anytime, because that's a self-worth issue.
Oh.
I don't deserve this. I don't deserve your time. I don't deserve your energy. I don't deserve your resources. So every time you try to give them to me, I'm either going to say no,
Yes.
which eventually the partner will stop.
Right.
And then
Don't say no.
and then that can start to look like underfunctioning.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
And I'm not saying that as like blaming,
No,
the woman by any means.
No, that makes sense. That totally makes sense.
Or you can receive it and then feel so guilty. And like you're saying, then feel all this angst that you have to reciprocate in the exact same way at that time.
Right.
No.
No.
We don't need to feel guilty for people choosing to do kind things for us.
Oh, yes.
We love to give, which means we also need to let our partner enjoy the experience of giving.
Yes.
And we rob them of that when we constantly say, no, I can do it. I'm fine.
I'm so independent. No, that doesn't.
Well, and so many of us women in our
Yes.
40s and 50s grew up with moms who came out of the women's movement.
Yep.
So we grew up with these incredible messages that we could do whatever we wanted. We could have whatever job we wanted. We didn't need a guy's money, right?
Well, my message, can I tell you the message?
Yeah.
My message was, okay, you better make sure you take care of yourself. Because you can't trust a man.
That's right.
Because he's going to leave.
That's right.
That's how I knew men were.
Yeah.
And that's not the truth.
Right.
But that's my programming.
That's right.
So you can't trust a man. You have to make sure that you are on your own and you do your own.
So you go into hyper independent mode.
100%.
Yeah. And I'm not worthy of their attention.
Right.
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 And that's where all the guilt comes from.
That's where all the guilt comes. Okay. So
Okay.
ladies, Keep
All right.
going.
So reciprocity.
Reciprocity.
Another piece we want to watch for is consistency.
Okay.
Because this is where we feel safe in a relationship.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. Keep going. Keep
All
going.
right.
Yes, that's
so
good.
with underfunctioning,
Okay.
they may give us breadcrumbs. They
Right.
may pop in and engage and do things,
Okay.
but then we can't count on it because it's going to go away.
Okay.
So healthy functioning partners are consistent.
Yes.
They do what they say they're going to do, right? If they tell you they're going to be there at 6, they're there at 5:59.
Yep.
And you know that you can count on them. Because when you can't count on them, that's going to trigger the overfunctioning. Well, I need to then have a plan B. I need to fill in the gap. I need to be hyper responsible because I'm not sure that they're going to be responsible. And that triggers all that overfunctioning and emotional work that we're doing for them. So we want to look for a partner who's consistent, because then our system calms down and says, oh, I can relax because if they tell me they're going to do it, I know that they're going to do it. If they treat me in a really good way this time, I don't have to worry that next time might be different and they're going to treat me poorly.
Spot on.
If I go and talk to them about my feelings, I know that they will receive me. They will either say, hey, babe, I can't have that talk right now, but how about in 3 hours when I have some headspace, I'd love to sit down and hear what you have to say.
Yep.
Okay. Or they might say, tell me what you got. I want to hear everything that's on your mind.
Let's go. Yeah. No, that's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Because it really is that way. Because think about this. Like anybody can like say whatever, but you need to see if truly their words match their actions over time. Is it consistent?
Yeah.
Are they right? Like is it a pattern that you're noticing? Oh my God.
Yep.
You can rely on them.
Yep.
And when you can start actually, like when you get to know someone and you can start relying on them, then that's where the trust comes in.
That's right.
That's where the trust comes in, because you're like, oh, wow, I can really rely on this person. This person really says, what they're going to do. And that's the process. Like, honestly, that's the process. It's giving yourself an opportunity to get to know someone and taking your time to see in time that this is all, they're being reliable, like all these little things that you're saying, how that actually makes the biggest difference.
That's right.
It's huge, you guys. It's actually huge.
Yeah.
And so when you get to know someone, then that's what I just said. Then you have this opportunity to be like, I can rely on them. This is cool. And then when you rely on them, and then that's when you're like, okay, I trust them. When you trust them, this is when we commit, ladies. We don't commit until here. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
and that takes time.
That takes
So
time.
we have to let this process be slow.
Yes, thank you.
Right? We can't move too quickly, because if we move too quickly, we don't see patterns. And that's how we overlook red flags.
That's how we overlook red flags. Right there. Because there's going to be patterns.
Yes.
There's
but
going
patterns
to be
take time.
Yeah. And the patterns will come out during time.
Yes.
Absolutely. And so that's what we talk about. Like, when someone says, oh, did you see the red flags? Well, what happens is you didn't give it enough time to start seeing those really come out. Like you just went ahead and thought you fell in love and got yourself in a committed relationship. And then you turn around and like, oh, okay, what just happened? Because we're not slowing down.
That's right. We need to keep it slow.
Okay.
And then another key factor we want to watch for is personal responsibility.
Okay. I love that.
Can this person take ownership for how they show up?
I love that.
Rather than blame you for their misery or their problems or their feelings or their circumstances.
Yep.
And if you are coming to them with something, can they take responsibility and say, I can see how, what I did or said really hurt you.
Right.
Without shame spiraling.
Yes. That's huge.
Right? Like you can misstep with your partner and not be a bad partner.
No, you're a human being.
You're a human being.
We can have moments, and that is so good because as a woman, and I have my moments, and I've been able to, because I've learned this myself, right? I've come a long way.
That's right.
But I've learned this too. When I have my moments, and I'm like, oh, that did not come out right. I am the first now. I literally go to my man. I'm like, babe, you know what? That was shitty. I don't know what happened to me right then, but I am so sorry. Please forgive me.
That's right.
That's all he needs. We move on.
That's right.
And that's what I need from somebody else.
And you're not blaming him and telling him all of the things that he did that made you do that.
No.
Right? You're just taking responsibility.
You just gotta
and you're self-aware. You're self-aware enough to see that what you did maybe wasn't the best version of you, and it impacted him, and you care about him. So you have enough humility and enough awareness to go back and say, I'm sorry.
I love that.
And that's what we need, because if our partner doesn't have personal responsibility, guess what? The overfunctioning woman steps in and says, oh, well, I'll take responsibility for your mood.
Oh, yeah. No, we don't want that.
I'll take responsibility for what you're thinking and feeling in this relationship. Yeah. And that's where we start to feel crazy.
That's where we feel crazy. Okay, so ladies, single ladies, We're going to take our time. We're going to get to know the man and talk about the ones that you just pointed out.
What was the first one?
The first one is
awareness. No, we're going to look for consistency.
Consistency. Yep, we're going to have consistency.
And we're going to look for personal responsibility.
Personal responsibility.
And I'm drawing a blank on the first one, but it was a really good one.
It was a really good one. You guys, you already heard the first one. We already know. It'll come back to us in just a second.
It will, yeah.
No, like seriously. No, seriously. Because the truth is that when we do take our time and we do things differently, and I just want you guys to hear this, and you have a different awareness, you can actually next time have a different outcome. Like, I'm not even kidding you. And I'm not putting the fault on, when I met my ex-husband, I was young. Yeah. I was just like you. You said you were 18. I was young.
I didn't know who I was.
I didn't know who I was or anything like that. And there's a lot of there's relationships, you guys, that you can meet young and they actually do really well.
Absolutely. I can grow together.
100%. There's that's really awesome too. So you can meet your person when you're young and you guys can grow together. That's not normally the norm, but it happens often too. Like, because I'm with a group of people that they met their people young and they're still together, all the things. But now that you have an opportunity, like let's say things didn't work out, you have an opportunity now to do things differently.
Do it differently.
What else work can a woman do if she's single for herself?
Yeah. My favorite is she can become, she can feel worthy.
Oh.
She can feel like she deserves to take up space in her relationship. Because so much of overfunctioning is let me play small to accommodate them. Let me not inconvenience them. Let me not be a burden to them. And that is not a healthy way to show up in a relationship.
No.
Because when we play small, they are naturally going to play big. They are going to take up all that space. And that will look and feel like selfishness.
Yeah.
That will look and feel like underfunctioning.
Yeah.
Right? And they have responsibility for taking that space.
Right.
But we have responsibility for not taking that space.
Right.
And so our work to do is to become worthy and believe that we deserve to take up space in our relationship.
Yes,
we deserve to sometimes have our partner be inconvenienced by us. Right?
And that's okay.
And that's okay.
Yes.
We deserve to have time, energy, and effort put into us.
Yes.
Just as much as we put into them.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you guys hear that. Like, honestly.
We deserve that.
You deserve an amazing relationship.
That's right.
100%.
But you have to believe
Yes.
that you are worthy of that. The other piece of work to do is to get really comfortable with yourself separate from a partner.
I love that.
I got to a place after my divorce where I just loved my own company.
You love your own company?
Oh.
Me too.
Hanging out with myself,
Me too.
I'm like,
I'm
sign
cool.
me up. Like, whoever comes into my life is going to have to be better than this amazing time I can give myself.
Absolutely.
Where I have my peace.
Yes.
I have my self-respect.
Yes.
My space is neat and tidy. It's how I like it. Like, this person's going to have to be better.
They're going to have
than
to
what
really,
I can do for myself.
Yes. And then what happened? So you ended up, you did your work and you ended up literally like, okay, you did the work.
Yep.
You got to a space
that
you were peaceful
and learning that I overfunctioned and that didn't work.
Okay.
And I had to take responsibility for the things that I was doing in my marriage that added to that dysfunctional dynamic.
Yep.
And I worked on those and I started showing up differently and I really worked on what I believed I deserved.
Okay.
And that guilt.
Yes.
Right. And I did it in the smallest of ways. I'd be on an airplane.
Yeah.
And, I'd have my overhead bag and I would go to reach for it and a gentleman would say, oh, let me help you. Yeah. And in the past, I'd be like, no, I'm fine. I got it. And I was like, Ashley, let him.
Ooh, yes. Yes.
And don't feel bad about it.
Don't feel bad. The guy's offering. Let him get the thing.
But it's like such a small example. But in that moment, I was like, ooh, look at me letting somebody put their effort and time into me. I mean, it was 2 seconds and not a big deal.
That's huge, actually.
But it was the awareness and the consciousness to say, I deserve this. Or I would take myself to go get a massage and I would lay on the table. I still do this.
Okay, tell me.
Lay on the table and I say, Ashley, this hour was made for you. You deserve this. Take it in. Oof. Just let yourself be pampered. You deserve this. Oh. And the more you say that to yourself, you believe it.
Yes.
So then a partner can come along and treat me really well. And I go, yes, thank you.
Yes.
Because I deserve this.
And I'm not going to take anything less than this.
That's right. This is now a requirement. This is not a want.
See, ladies,
This is a
you can
must.
do this. You can do this. It can be like just amazing the next time around.
And when the guilt comes up, because it does, because I'm still human, still working.
Yep.
When the guilt comes up, I'm like, oh, look at that. There's the guilt. I am not going to let the guilt make my decision. I'm not backing down. I'm not saying no. I'm not resisting. I'm going to feel guilty and do it anyway.
I love that. Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness. How do they get in your world, Ashley? How do they work with you? Seriously, where do they find you?
Well, find me on Instagram at Dr. Ashley Southard because I love writing about this.
Okay.
It is like my
you guys, her
favorite
content
thing to
is
do.
Amazing. Like, honestly, get in her world. What's your handle?
At Dr. Ashley Southard.
Yes.
Come and binge on my content.
Ooh.
I have a lot of content there.
You have a lot of content. And you know what I noticed too? You do this, can you explain that real quick? There's something like women writing. I saw your stories. What is that?
Yeah, so every weekend I do self-restoration wins. So if you are overfunctioning and working on healing that, the space that we're getting you to is called self-restoration. That's what I call it. Where you have restored yourself back to this worthy woman who is on fire and knows what she deserves.
Yes.
It's like epic.
Yeah.
So every weekend. Every weekend on my Instagram stories, I say, okay, guys, it's weekend. So share with me your wins. Tell me how you respected yourself. Tell me how you took up space. Tell me how you stepped back.
Oh, they have a community
Tell me how,
to really work. I love that.
Yes. And the women are on fire.
Oh,
so I get hundreds of answers of women telling me what they've done that week. It could be something like I went and took myself out to lunch by myself and enjoyed it and ordered whatever I wanted.
Fantastic.
To I left my husband this week.
Wow. Anything.
Yeah, anything.
That
any
really
win.
like stepping into.
If you are proud of it and it's something that leaves you feeling self-respecting, I want to hear about it. And I share them, and then the women start DMing me in response to other women. So then I share those. It is magical.
And how do they do this? They just follow you on Instagram?
Just follow me on Instagram, watch my stories, and I post a little sticker in there that you can respond to. It's super easy.
And then you can super easy. And do you do, I know you're here in Scottsdale, Arizona. Do you do virtual also?
So I do therapy, but you have to be a resident of Arizona. My license has that. But I do offer master classes where I teach this. So we do deep dives into a lot of these issues. And so you can go onto my website, drashleysouthard.com, and just stay tuned for 2025 because I may or may not have some cool stuff coming up.
Ooh, yes. This is so good, you guys. Okay, so what about you, Missy? How is life for you? I mean, you know, how's the dating world? What's going on?
Let's just say life is pretty great. And let's just say that healthy functioning love absolutely exists.
Oh, did you hear that? Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So this is like I said, so you can like listen to us.
Yeah.
You know, we're two women that, you know, things didn't work out for us in the past and we're in these situations. But look, life, you know, when you get to like do the work, slow down, you know, have some different perspective and really realize we're not crazy.
We're not crazy.
And we can actually move through this. We can actually go about and end up and have a wonderful, beautiful, healthy relationship.
Yeah, and we don't have to be victims of our past experiences. Were they painful? Yes. Are we sad that our heart had to go through that? Yes. And also, I have learned some of the most amazing things about myself and about life because of those hard experiences. So I don't regret it. I don't lament it. It is what it is. I am taking it and I'm turning it into something amazing for myself, for my daughter, and for all of the women out there who can relate to this.
Oh, that's it. Oh my goodness. That was awesome. Hold on, Miss Ashley. Okay, hold on. We're gonna cheers to that.
Okay.
Because that was incredible. Wow. You were coming back.
Okay, I'm here.
Right I'm not even kidding you.
You just tell me when.
Yeah, we're gonna do this again.
Okay.
This was so good. Okay. I really hope everyone just my brain is like, oh my goodness. What's just happening? What a conversation today. What a conversation that needed to happen.
Yep.
Because we are all about making sure we have some amazing relationships and amazing love.
It's what we deserve.
It's what we all deserve. And to the meantime, cheers to great love.
To great love.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's a wrap. Wow. What an incredible and heartwarming conversation I had with Dr. Ashley about how she too experienced being in a relationship where she was constantly overfunctioning with an underfunctioning partner and how that affects so many women. I hope that today you got some clarity, some inspiration, and things that you can do to not end up in a situation like this or make the changes that you need for yourself if you too find yourself in this situation. Because the truth is, we all deserve great love. We all deserve to be in a relationship where we feel loved, supported, and cherished. That's the beauty of great love. It's available for all of us. If you're loving this podcast and these incredible conversations, please hit the subscribe button and leave a 5-star review. Don't miss an episode because each week I'll be bringing on guests and experts who will share their knowledge about love, dating, and relationships so you can apply it into your own life. I'll see you next week. And until then, cheers to great love.